Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here to talk about the concept behind best-in-slot gear in Final Fantasy XIV. Now, a lot of the time, I go to places like Idleshire or the Duty Finder or whatnot, and I'll see somebody judging another player because they don't particularly agree with the piece of armor that they've selected to use. Oh man, why the hell are you wearing those boots? Those aren't best-in-slot. You get the same item level and get something else. Why are you even using those damn things? Now, normally the reply is something reasonable, like, I haven't beaten, or I haven't been inside of Alexander Midas yet, or it was an upgrade over what I was using before, something along those lines. Really, those are respectable answers, and honestly should be the most considerable things when upgrading armor, but my question is, why does having it best in slot really matter at all? In fact, does it matter at all, especially with the way the game has changed recently? You know what? I'll tell you that in my opinion, just my opinion, it matters for like less than 1% of the total content in the game, but everybody likes to treat it like it's the 99%. Let's discuss why. So first of all, for those of you who may not be privy to the type of MMO lingo I'm using right now, the term best in slot is used in Final Fantasy XIV to refer to a single piece of armor that is undoubtedly providing the highest throughput of any combination of healing, damage, health, or mitigation when compared to any other gear that would fill the same slot. Being full best in slot means that you have a piece that qualifies under these standards for every single gear slot available. Now, it seems pretty cut and dry, right? Numbers are numbers and they can easily be figured out, but there's a few variables that people really don't take into account often enough. Now, often when most people do is they go, what's my best in slot? Okay, I'll go to FFXIV.Ariyala.com. I'll go to my job. All right. Push best in slot solver. All right, all those values are correct. Those are up to date. Press the button, I'll include food buffs, and bam, hey, this is my best in slot. Well, on top of that, I'm just going to throw in crit and determination materia or spell speed if I'm a black mage, and yeah, that's my best in slot. It doesn't work like that. So I actually love Ariyala as a website. It's my go-to website whenever I'm trying to figure out what materia I want to use, what gear upgrade paths I want to take on my way to full I-240. But a lot of people just do that, and it's a total misuse of how you're supposed to figure out best in slot in the first place. There are trade-offs that you can make where you can put accuracy on some pieces through materia in order to actually get more critical hit rate or determination on another piece, whether that means that you're actually cutting your accuracy closer to the required accuracy, or you're just simply making it so you can trade out a piece of gear for another piece of gear that's significantly better. It's just that it's not as cut and dry as go to Ariyala, put in best in slot solver, and be done. There's a little bit more work that goes into it. So it's a little bit misinterpreted in the first place what that best in slot solver is actually supposed to do. On top of that, in Alexander Midas Savage, it's entirely acceptable to put some vitality materia. In fact, it's almost expected of you to put some vitality materia in at least one or two of your accessories in order to make sure that you have more health to survive. Obviously, this doesn't apply to tanks, but for everyone else, we generally do that for the extra health to survive the mechanics a little bit more cleanly. And that's just one point. Honestly, second of all, and this is probably the more important one, is that most people only determine their full best in slot list. In fact, the term best in slot is most often used to simply designate the best gear for the single hardest fight of any given patch. Now, that's perfectly fine for a best in slot list for that individual fight, but this given fight has the highest accuracy requirement of the patch, and that is significantly higher than the accuracy required for the other available fights. What people should actually be doing is figuring out what their best in slot would be for every single individual fight and then change their equipment accordingly if they're talking about min-maxing the amount of damage they want to do, which is, again, one of the entire points of best in slot in the first place. And honestly, you're not going to go out of your way to do this nowadays because you could change accuracy and materia, and you could take accuracy out and put crit in if you talk about best in slot for every individual different fight. But you could still change around the main pieces occasionally in order to get a little bit more stats, especially considering the accuracy difference between something like Sephiroth Extreme and A8 Savage, or Ravana even, and A8 Savage. It's a massive difference. You can get away with way less accuracy than you would otherwise. It's just a lot more effort, so nobody really does it. It's just, you know, another point. It's like, on top of it all, if you've already beaten the hardest fight in the game, what the hell do you need BestinSlot for? You've already beaten it. At this point, we really need to determine, why are people even going for BestinSlot? Hell, before I can even talk about that, I mean, PvP is another thing. That is a completely different BestinSlot list. Now, physical accuracy required in the Feast is about 390 for, like I said, physical damage dealers, as long as you're not accounting for things like Paladin Blind or whatnot. And people usually take this chance to stack more damage, like critical hit rate or determination, sometimes vitality if you're a caster. What this ends up becoming is you have like 1 or 2 pieces that have accuracy in them, and everything else has the best possibly optimized off stats. So you'll have mixes of things like I-160 accessories and I-180 PvP stuff, and you know, maybe you have an I-205 weapon or whatever. As long as it all comes out with the best possible off stats, you're good to go. So back to the point when I sidetracked to PvP, what is the point of going for full BestinSlot? Is there any point at all? Well, honestly, the only reason why I personally go for BestinSlot every patch is it's a goal. That's it. It's something I can achieve, and I can say I did it. I got full BestinSlot, whoop-de-doody. And, you know, sometimes it's just nice to have something to work towards. And I respect the people who do it strictly for that reason because, you know, I mean, that's why I do the animal weapon when I don't need that, so can't really judge anyone on that front. I mean, another goal actually used to be for World First progression, once you had BestinSlot for the previous patch, when the next major raid tier came around, the idea was that the accuracy required for the very first fight would be about equivalent to what you had or what you needed for the previous final tier, final boss of the previous tier. Nowadays, that's not as big of a thing because crafted gear is just so much easier to get, and they said that it's going to be very similar in 3.4. So it really only fills that gap of being like giving you cutting edge advantages for like a day or two, because that crafted gear is going to get churned out by the serious world progression groups in like 24 to 48 hours. So overall, do I think BestinSlot gear matters? Do I think everyone should go for it? Do I think that we should criticize people who maybe don't care to put materia in our 4-man dungeons, or they just have all lore gear because they haven't done mice? No, because who the hell cares? Most of the time you run into these kind of people, the people that you may not necessarily agree with their gear choices, you're running into them in a place where it's a completely irrelevant factor to what you are doing. BestinSlot, like I said, I feel it matters for less than 1% of the total content in the game. So don't let it bog you down. Don't let the decisions even enter your mind. Yes, when you're upgrading gear, if you have a choice between 2 pieces, I'd recommend figuring out which is the better choice for the immediate future, or for your long future, whatever it is if you're playing the long game. Whatever it is, it's okay to make informed decisions, but don't feel the pressure and need to only go for this BestinSlot list. Just do what makes your character better, what makes your character stronger, what makes it faster. I should have done those in order. But regardless, hopefully you get my point. I think BestinSlot is a damn near worthless concept, and that it boggles way too many people down and gets them thinking way too much about their gear and not enough about their performance. So, little bit of my opinion. What is your opinion? Be sure to put it in the comment section of the video below. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, and stay tuned for more videos on my YouTube channel. Anyway, thank you for watching. I'll see you all in the next video, and until then, take care.